All right, good morning, Owego. How pumped up are you? That's good. That is good. You did that good. I am going to start by acknowledging some special guests. Senator Fred Akshar. Assemblyman Christopher Friend. Binghamton University President and REDC Co-Chair, now 8 years into his 2-year commitment, Harvey Stanger. Chair of the Tioga County Legislature, Martha Sauerbrei. She was making fun of me in the back, I'm just saying. Tioga County Sheriff Gary Howard. Tioga County Legislator Tracy Monell. Tioga County Legislator Ed Hollenbeck. Tioga County Legislator Dale Weston. Village of Owego Mayor Michael Barada and members of the Owego Board of Trustees. This may or may not be a good day for you. Director of the Tioga County Economic Development and Planning, Leanne Tinney. Mayor of Newark Valley, Jim Tornidor. Town Supervisor of Owego, Donald Castellucci. Mayor of Nichols, Leslie Pilot. And to all the good people of Owego, and thank you all for joining us today. It's great to have you here. What a fabulous facility this is. Awesome. This is great. And we toured downtown Owego, which I have been to several times, and we drove through. It's so great that you have such a wonderful fabric of your historic buildings here. It's easy to fall in love with Owego. It's great. I'm a business guy. I had economic development for the governor, but I have been a business guy my whole life, and I am still a business guy. And I have the opportunity to meet with businesses all over the state, and right here in Owego, I have had the opportunity over the years to meet with several. And you have some really large companies to be very proud of here. And I've toured many of them, and they're spectacular, and you should be proud of what they're doing here in Owego. Companies like Lockheed and BAE Systems I have toured nearby, and I've toured Corning, of course, in the region, and Raymond and others. And to all of you who may be joining us who are in business or work in businesses, that is really how the governor defines success, as business and private sector employment. And it's hard. Being in business is hard. And I want to just take my hat off and thank all the people who are in business who are making investments in their companies. People don't realize when you're in business, every day people are trying to take your business. And so it's tough. And we have worked hard, and this governor has worked hard to create a very business-friendly environment. And remember, I'm the economic development guy, and my slice of what we're doing in this state is very narrow, and it is focused on business. And I just want to share with you some of the things that I hear when I talk to business, and some of the things that are on their mind, and how I think we're helping to, advance their interests and help them be successful. So businesses need to function in a competitive environment. And for all the companies that I mentioned that are in manufacturing, we call that tradable sectors of the economy. Those are wealth-creating industries and jobs. You're exporting, you're manufacturing and exporting goods and services, and you're importing here jobs. So it's great. Those are our most important types of businesses. And they're interested in a competitive environment. And the fact that New York State has no taxes for manufacturing companies is so important to them, and it's important to this community because you have manufacturing businesses here in the region and across upstate. And the fact that we have the lowest taxes in many, many decades in general. And we always say economic development is a team sport, and it takes all branches of government to work together. The fact that the state has had real fiscal discipline in recent years is noticed by businesses. I hear this. They pay attention to these types of things. So I want to say, you know, to everyone who's involved in the multiple branches of government, it's been a real positive change from the business standpoint, seeing how government functions. And in business, you're always improving. You're working hard every day. You can never get to the point where you like lean back in your chair and say, you know, I'm not going to really work that hard this year. I'm not going to really try to make much change this year. And there's a concept called continuous improvement that we do in business all the time, without which business just can't survive. And I feel like we are doing that now in the state, that this governor, with this legislature, that we are working together to make things better all the time. And it's whether it's investments in infrastructure that you see all around us, and the list of airports in upstate New York that aren't going through major transformations and investments is much smaller than the list that are. So you're seeing these types of infrastructure investments and in airports, in broadband, in tourism assets. We were just at the state fair yesterday, and I hope you will go to your state fair. You have the oldest and increasingly wonderful state fair here in New York. And if you have not indulged yourself in wine slushies, then you are definitely missing something. Have you ever seen those food competitions? Like somehow this became a profession, eating. Have you ever seen these people who are like professional eaters, the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, and they're like celebrities. People know their names. Joey Chestnut, and you know, he can eat 86 hot dogs in 2 minutes somehow. It's disgusting, actually. But sometimes when you go through the fair, there's so much great food to eat. You feel like almost feel like you're in one of these eating competitions. But it's fabulous, and I hope you go to your state fair. It's the oldest state fair in the country, but it's also in many ways the newest, because we keep making investments in the state fair, and the governor just, in only 9 months, we constructed a 125,000 square foot expo center at the state fair, which we cut a ribbon on yesterday. So I do hope you get there. You know, when I talk to business, they want to talk about workforce. And any of you who are in business, I guarantee you have positions open right now that maybe aren't being filled. And that's the biggest problem we have, truthfully, across the state. It's a good economy, and we don't always have the skills that we need to fill the positions. And so the governor's continual investments with community colleges and others that are providing workforce skills in strategic industries, but also when I talk to businesses and they want to know about our commitment to continuing education, the Excelsior Scholarship Program, there's no other program like that in the country, and businesses are wowed by the fact that we provide such a high percentage of their population the opportunity for free tuition. It is really a wonderful thing, and businesses take note of this. I will tell you, it's what they talk to me about a lot. And finally, I just want to say, and this may or may not surprise you, I don't know. And I have a story, actually, when I visited Lockheed Martin, and I just asked them, what is it that ESD, the governor, what can we do to be helpful to your business? And you might think they would talk about taxes, or you might think they would talk about financial, any number of financial matters. You know what they said? They said, if you would invest in our downtown, okay? Because we need to recruit people here, and we need to keep people here. And it doesn't matter what upstate town you're talking about. For a very long time, we struggled with keeping our young population. So to hear a company the size of Lockheed Martin talk about the importance of what we call place-based investments or downtown revitalization, which really is, you're very fortunate, in my opinion, to have a governor with a real background in urban development who understands the importance of downtowns, who understands the importance of all of these things: infrastructure, fiscal responsibility and discipline, innovation, workforce development, and yes, downtown revitalization. And I hear this from a lot of companies: invest in our downtown. We all lost way too many people. I'm your upstate cousin from Buffalo, New York, and it has been such a pleasure to see the turnaround that has happened there and the growth again of young people. It's really the acid test, right? Are you able to reverse the tide of decline in young population? And we're starting to do that across upstate now for the first time in a long time. And I give the governor a ton of credit, and the way he's approached economic development, entirely different, 180-degree different, empowering people like Harvey and Tom and the regional councils, and investing in your plans, whether it's downtown plans or economic development plans, is strategic, is collaborative, and it makes sense. And it is not a one-size-fits-all approach from Albany, and it is working, most importantly. So with that, I want to introduce somebody who has been the best friend that Owego's had, Tioga County's had, and Upstate has had. He not only has empowered you to develop your own plan for the future, but he invests in you because he has the confidence in you, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be in Owego today. I tell you, it is so beautiful. I don't want you to take it for granted. You know, it is like a Norman Rockwell picture. It really is beautiful. And then when that river is behaving, it is beautiful. When it is not behaving, it is a monster. And I know that all too well. But it really is beautiful, and it's beautiful to be here. Let's give a big round of applause to Howard Zemsky, who's doing a great, great, great job. Martha Sauerbrei, pleasure to be with her again. I was with her last week when we were working on the storm, and she is, you can really tell about a leader when times are tough. And she was fantastic, and you should be proud of her. Thank you very much. I am excited to be here. We were in the State Fair yesterday, as Howard mentioned. Howard is a little down low today. That's because we were in the State Fair yesterday. He talked about the Nathan's hot dog, Joey Chestnut, who I never heard of Joey Chestnut, but with all due respect to Joey Chestnut. But there's another competition that was at the State Fair, which is the wine slushy drinking competition. And Howard won the competition 14 wine slushies in 14 minutes. He set a new all-time record. So let's give him a round of applause. If you have not been, everybody's been to the State Fair. I've been going to the State Fair for more years than I care to remember. This is a different State Fair. Don't say, oh, I've gone, I don't have to go again. This is a different State Fair. This is the State Fair on steroids. And that's what Howard has been talking about. We have been investing in the State Fair because, for me, in many ways, the State Fair was a metaphor for upstate New York. It didn't change. I used to joke, one year I left a Diet Coke can on a railing. Next year I came back, the Diet Coke can was still on the railing. It didn't change, it didn't grow. Nobody invested in it, and just slowly deteriorated over the years. We have done a 180, and we've invested in the State Fair because it's a great economic engine for the state. We put in a new infrastructure, a whole new midfield. New rides. We just opened a new expo center, which is the largest exposition center in the Northeast, anywhere between Boston and Cleveland. Yesterday we had an exhibition ice hockey game between the Junior Islanders and the Junior Sabres. But it's going to be a great facility. And the whole fair has a different feel, so you should really go. We had a blast yesterday opening it up. Howard had just won the wine slushy contest, so he was a little wobbly. And we were getting on a new ride called the Sky Ride, which takes you up and over the whole fair. And he mumbled something to me as we were getting on the ride, but I couldn't really understand what he was saying because it was after the slushy competition and there were a lot of people around. But apparently he said, you know, I'm afraid of heights. And I said, I don't want to know. We get on the Sky Ride, and Howard's just a couple of cars away from me. And we go up, and we're touring the fair, and occasionally you hear, ah! Oh, and that's the head of economic development screaming from the Sky Ride all around the fair. But it was a little embarrassing, but they didn't know that I really knew him at the fair, so it turned out just fine for me. But the State Fair and seeing the progress and seeing the growth and remembering all the years of stagnation, that really is the story of the Southern Tier. That's the story of upstate New York. Decades of slow economic decline. It's like a balloon with a pinhole in it. It wasn't overnight. It was just a slow economic decline. Why? We were in the manufacturing economy in upstate New York. That's what we did. That's what made us, all along the Erie Canal, great manufacturing companies, and the manufacturing left. Well, what did we do wrong? We didn't do anything wrong. It was a cycle of the economy, and at first they went overseas, and then they went down south, and then they got smaller because everything is automated now, and they use fewer people. But upstate New York has been suffering this economic decline. And you feel it, you see it. I can't tell you the heartbreaking stories of people who said to me, I told my children they should move away. I said, why would you say that, right? The one thing you want as a parent, you want your kids around. No, they have to move for jobs and for opportunity, and that's what I told them. That was the way of upstate, not 4 or 5 years, 10 years. Since the 60s, the 50s. I was in Buffalo once, where Howard's from. Somebody said to me, well, you know, when it comes to the economy, we've had a bad 50 years. And I laughed. And he said, no, I'm not kidding. It's been 50 years. And that's true. That was a function of the economy. And then it was a function of what we did in response, or what we didn't do in response. Because a lot of areas of the country went through an economic transformation. But they did something, and we didn't in New York. We're guilty of the sin of omission. Why? Upstate, Albany government, the legislature is predominantly from New York City. And their focus is New York City. You're a legislator. What are you concerned about? You're concerned about your district. And the overwhelming majority of the legislators are from New York City. And all the focus was New York City. By the way, Democrats and Republicans. Democrats, certainly predominantly from New York City. Republicans, for many years, the power base was Long Island. So all the focus was downstate. And New York City did very well, and New York City is the economic engine, and that's great, but we allowed upstate New York to continue to deteriorate. We then made it worse. Why? Because we kept spending too much money in the state, and we kept raising taxes. So now you have a double whammy. You have loss of an economic base, and you have a state that keeps increasing taxes, which is a way of chasing people out of the state. Well, why were taxes going up? Because you were spending too much money. Sometimes you have to tell the truth, and you have to be honest, and you have to look in the mirror. You'll never solve a problem you're unwilling to admit. Why am I putting on weight? I am eating too much. That is what is happening. That is the equation. Too many calories come in, the weight goes up. State government, you spend too much money, and you have to raise taxes. And we spent money in this state. You had a great senator, God rest his soul, Tom Libbis, who was a friend of mine. And he was a reasonable, practical, get it done. He was not a partisan crazy, right? Today, on both sides of the aisle, you just have partisan crazies. They just want to fight with the other side because that's the way they know they're alive, by fighting. But Libbis was a practical man who wanted to get things done. I used to tease him all the time. I used to say, you know, Tom, you Republicans spend too much money. He said, what do you mean? It's not us. We don't spend money. It's the Democrats that spend money. I said, no. It's the Republicans that spend too much money. And his head was like to explode. How did New York State get into this situation? Governor Nelson Rockefeller, you know how much he spent every year? What was the annual increase under Nelson Rockefeller? Governor for 16 years. 11% more every year. 11%. What was going up at 11% every year? Not income, not home value, nothing. 16 years we went up at 11%. After Governor Nelson Rockefeller, who comes in, Governor Hugh Carey, 7% more every year for 12 years. Okay? Nothing was going up at 7%. Who's after Governor Carey? Governor Cuomo. God rest his soul. 6% more every year. After Governor Cuomo, who do we have? Republican conservative George Pataki. How much does Republican conservative Governor George Pataki spend every year? 5%. He's governor for 12 years. For that entire period of time, we were spending more money than our people were making. We're spending more money than our people are making. How can you do that? How can you spend more than you make? You raise taxes more and more and more and more. And that's why when the taxpayers of New York felt abused and the businesses felt abused, you know why? Because they were. Every year you were going back to them for more money, more money, more money. I come in and I say, we continue this way, it is death for us. It is death. I had an old buddy who was always overweight and a smoker, drinker. And he was always on a diet. He was on a grapefruit diet. He was on the paleo diet. He's one of these guys who had tried everything. He has a heart attack. He goes to the doctor. The doctor says, if you don't lose 50 pounds, stop smoking, stop drinking, you're a dead man. Don't bother coming back. Boy, he found religion like that, you know, lost weight, was running marathons. So I went to the legislature, and I said, we're a dead man if we don't stop. I don't care if you're a Democrat, I don't care if you're a Republican, I don't care what you are. We can't keep spending money the way we've been spending money. And the legislature likes to spend money. Everybody likes to spend money. And there are all sorts of good things to spend money on. And they spent it. I said it has to stop. I said we're going to have a discipline of a spending cap. 2%, no more than 2%. Why? Because that's basically the rate of inflation. And we're going to change this basic trajectory. 11, 7, 6, 5 has to go to 2. Now, this was a shock to the body system because you're accustomed to spending that much. Now we're going to go to 2. 7 years, we have been under 2% every year. 7 years. Democrats are mad at me for not spending more. Republicans are mad at me for not spending more. Taxpayers of New York are appreciative. Why? Because when you spend less, then you can tax less. And we reduce taxes all across the board. Everybody in the state of New York pays a lower tax rate today than they did 7 years ago. Everybody. Middle class up to $300,000, lowest tax rate since 1948. Corporate tax rate, lowest rate since 1968. Manufacturing rate, lowest rate since 1917. So now businesses get this is a different day. And that's why you start to see a change in the attitude. Maybe New York is not anti-business. Maybe it's not the high business state. And together with that, Howard Zemsky, we learned the second lesson, which is in this market today, you have to invest in businesses if you expect them to come to the state of New York. Why? Because every state is competing with you every day. You know the analogy he gave you about business, you have to work every day because people are trying to take your business? As a state, people are trying to take our business every day. I guarantee you Lockheed Martin gets 2 phone calls a week. States saying, come here, I'll give you a tax incentive package, you won't pay taxes for the first 10 years, your child will go to college for free, your wife will get a whole home. Whatever it takes. All day long, they're courting, they're soliciting. So you have to invest in the retooling. And upstate New York, part of the 180 was we're not just reducing taxes, we're going to invest. We have invested more in the upstate New York economy than any administration in the history of the state of New York, over $36 billion in upstate New York. And I am proud of it. Because I have no problem saying to the people of downstate New York, it was short-sighted all those years that you shorted upstate New York. Because at the end of the day, we are one state, we are one family, we are one community, we are one set of books. And if you want to help the state, invest in upstate New York so they're doing better, they're generating more revenue, and that will help the entire state. And $36 billion, what did we do with it? We invested in businesses, and we are bringing more businesses into the state than we have seen in decades. New airports all across the state, LaGuardia, JFK downstate, new airport in Rochester, new airport in Syracuse, new airport in Elmira, new airport in Plattsburgh, new airport in Albany, $27 billion, new roads, new bridges, all across upstate New York. Because upstate New York is now becoming a global economy. And if you want to be a global economy, the transportation system begets the jobs and the growth, and that's what we're doing. So it's all working. And for the cynics who say, oh, well, I don't think it's working, it's still not what it should be. It's still not what it should be. We're building back from 50 years of decline. But when we started, unemployment rate was 8.2% in Tioga County. Unemployment rate, 4.5% today. You cannot argue with that. You cannot argue with that. State taxes down, property tax cap 2% for the first time in history, unemployment down from 8 to 4. Those are inarguable facts. Now, one of the other dimensions that makes the economic development picture full. Bring back jobs. How do you bring back the jobs? They want an educated workforce. They're working with universities. And they want young people coming out of colleges and universities with the new ideas. They all say the same thing. You are perfectly located. Cornell, Ithaca, Harvey, Binghamton, great universities, great ideas being generated, great young people. The businesses also say what Lockheed said to Howard. We want downtown areas that are revitalized. Why? Because millennials are attracted to downtown areas. And this is a different way of thinking, old people like me. I wanted a house and a backyard and a patio and a 2-car garage. I wanted a 3-car garage because I have a lot of stuff. That's not the millennials. They don't want to get in a car and drive out to the suburbs for their home and barbecue in the backyard and cut the grass. That's not their vision. They want to be in a downtown area. They don't want to get in a car. They want to walk to the restaurant. They want to walk to the cafe. They want to walk to meet their friend. They want to walk to their work. They want that density, that intensity of a downtown area that the generation before fled, right? We had generations that grew up in the downtowns. What is the one thing they wanted to do? Get out of the downtown. You made money, move out to the suburb. Get a house, you get a quarter acre, you get a half an acre, you have your lawn mower, you have your privacy. You don't have to deal with the tenants and all the noise. They flipped it. By the way, it was smarter to flip it because then you're not always building out, more infrastructure, more farmland being taken. It's worse for the environment. It's more expensive. This development pattern is actually smarter, and we talked about it for a lot of years. You just couldn't get people to do it because they said, I don't want to live in that downtown density. My grandfather, God rest his soul, he used to say, I didn't know what he was talking about as a young kid, I have an unattached house. And he said this for years, unattached house. And I said to my father once, what is Grandpa talking about, an unattached house? He said, well, he means there's no homes attached on either side. It's just a freestanding house. I said, all homes are freestanding homes. He said, no. For your grandfather, you started in an apartment building, and then you moved up to a semi-attached where you shared a driveway, but then to have a freestanding unattached home, that was it. You made it. We're now going full circle. They want that downtown revitalization. And that is an art form in and of itself. So we came up with a program that said, we are going to incentivize and fund downtown revitalization efforts, the DRI program. Why? Because everything has to have an acronym in government. DRI, Downtown Revitalization Initiative. And this is where it gets tricky, because I deferred to Howard. People say I'm a micromanager. No, I listened to Howard. We said we'll do a $100 million total funding allocation. 10 winners was the idea. 10 million each, okay? So I can do that math. 10 winners, 10 million, $100. I said to Howard at the time, how many applicants do you think you will have for the 10 spots? He said, no more than 20. And this was before the wine slushy competition. I said 20, so then 1 out of every 2 applicants would win, 1 out of every 2 would lose. But then we can say we're going to do it next year so everybody gets a second chance. He said yes. I said, are you sure there's no more than 20 applicants? He said, oh, I'm sure. I'm the head of economic development. I'm a businessman. I'm not like you government people. I know because government competes every day, and I won the wine slushy contest. I said, okay, forget I asked. No more than 20 applicants. Do you know how many applicants we had? 105 applicants. So I said to Howard, you better go back to the drawing board because you were a little bit off on your estimate of 20. Not that I'd like to put salt in the wounds or remind the person of a really bad mistake. So then we said, you know what we'll consider? We'll have first place awards at 10. Second place award winners will win 8. Third place will win 6. Fourth place will win 4. Fifth place will win dinner with Howard Zemsky. You don't really want to win 5th place. Now, the orientation of everybody is we have to win, we have to be first, and if we're not first, then it doesn't matter. That's not true. That's a hyper-competitive instinct. To come in third means you're in the top third of all the applicants. Okay? That means you're in the top third and you beat, there's a bottom 70. To come in second means you're in the top 20%. And yeah, 10 million is great, but second place, $8 million is a lot of money. Third place, $6 million is a lot of money. And not everybody can win first. 105 applicants. And many of them have applied multiple times, right? You've only applied once, I think. Many of them have applied 2, 3, 4 times and never won. So you have to put this all into the calculus. And every time you apply and lose, you get a little better, because then the second time you're a little better, third time you're a little better. And we're going to have this on an ongoing basis. So it's not that if you don't win this year, that's it, you're out of luck. We're going to do it again next year, and you come back with a stronger application next year. Okay? So do you understand the context for this decision and where we are? Okay. With that in mind, it's my pleasure to inform you that you have won first place, $10 million. Congratulations.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Governor Cuomo. This is indeed a great day for Owego, for Tioga County, and the entire southern tier. First, yep. I'd like to thank Governor Cuomo not only for his commitment to bringing economic prosperity to Owego and Tioga County, but for everything that he's done for us recently, most recently, in the wake of the flash floods earlier this month. And let's not forget, Governor, when you flew over in 2011 with Senator Libous and 90% of this village was covered with floodwater. His support and the state resources have been instrumental in protecting and rebuilding our communities. And today we're taking a step together forward to rebuild Owego to be stronger than ever. The Downtown Revitalization Grant will only further cement Owego as a beautiful downtown destination and gateway to the Finger Lakes, Ithaca, and Watkins Glen areas. Oh. Owego really is the coolest small town in America. Owego, with the support of Team Tioga, was incredibly excited to submit our consideration for the much-needed investment from the DRI. Today, the award will help promote economic development, attract business, and transform our existing infrastructure, while capitalizing on Owego's historical charm and riverfront beautiful community. Combine that with the determination and resiliency of this community, and you've got a winner. So it is my honor to accept this award on behalf of Owego, and I want to thank my colleagues and the citizens of this community for their tireless efforts that made today possible. Thank you again, Governor. Whether it's storm recovery or investing in locally driven economic development, Governor Como, you've never forgotten the Southern Tier, and we're lucky to have a true friend like you in Albany. So, I heard you are going to give me some steak knives or something?
No, we give you the check.
Oh.